Wanna join me? Come and play, but I might shoot you in your face.
It's not exactly legal, but it is exactly awesome!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Funsmiths, episode 25.
Huh. That is what you do too. Huh. Okay, cool. Episode 25. Can't believe we've done this many episodes already. That's half a year of episodes.
Yep, we have done as
Almost.
we've done as many episodes as years I've been alive on this earth.
Cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Thank you for the excitement. And
Yeah, we both look younger than our age. Although I don't know. I think I'm starting to look older now.
you're getting there. I don't know. Keep up
Yeah.
with some of those youngster haircuts, and you might retain that.
Yeah, I got a haircut. Like, to be honest, I just want like a regular haircut, but like I went to a barber because that was the only place that had like availability, and they gave me one of these like fancy modern sort of haircuts that looks weird. My girlfriend likes it, but like I don't know, I'm not into it.
You sit down and go, I just need like a bit of a trim and neaten up, and he goes, all right, no problem. Fucking sits there, gives you the full on fade and everything, and he
Yeah, he like did the fade and shit. Yeah,
was
I don't know. I just want regular Asian, nothing special.
I go to Just Cuts, and how my hair is now, I just tell them to make a slightly shorter version of this. I don't want my sides of my head shaved or anything like that. And to be honest, this is kind of the length where I like my hair anyway, even though everyone's like, oh, you need a haircut, your fucking hair looks shit. And I'm like, I kind of like it like this, alright? I don't mind looking like a bit of a nerd. It's fine. Jesus. I don't need the full-on fucking 2020 fade or whatever the hell people get these days. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
It's just hair, man. I don't care. As long as it's washed.
Yeah, well, I'll have to deal with hair for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna go bald. Yeah.
There's a good chance that I will go bald. Yeah!
Then you won't have to get a haircut.
Yeah! But I will have...
But then you.
Well, I'll have to fucking,
Yeah, then-
shave and polish my head, though.
Yeah. You have to decide whether you want to keep the donut on the side or whether you just shave it all off. Go Bruce Willis.
My grandfather had the fucking donut.
Yeah.
But his brother was completely all over bald, and he like shaved it and polished it. My brother is bald. My other brother isn't. But my dad still has his hair. But like all my grandfather and all his brothers, all of them went bald, completely bald.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it skips a generation, that's what I'm in for.
Yeah, ideally. But yeah, so fantastic. We got a whole bunch of news for Legends of Runeterra. We took a week off last week because of unforeseen circumstances. But there's been a lot of stuff. So last week was when they dropped the part 2 of what? The mountain patch? What's it called? Monuments of Power.
The second part of Monuments. Yeah. So we had all the card reveals and everything. They are now officially in the game. We have had some time to play with them and enjoy them. And me and Jay have had a long and extensive discussion about how much energy we're going to be putting into this game this season and the coming seasons. And we came to a decision, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm going super serial, or like not super duper serial, but like just serious enough where I still have my job and shit. Right? I'm not gonna be like full esports and quit my job and like play it full time. Not like with Final Fantasy, which I hope my girlfriend never finds out about this. But I actually left one of my good jobs that I was doing really well in just to play Final Fantasy more seriously, so I can make it to Worlds for the first year, and it worked out.
Yep. And then he went to Worlds the next 2 years in a row.
And then I met my girlfriend, and then it was game over.
And then it was game over. Yep. And I've never been to a world tournament. I don't know if I'll ever go to a world tournament, but I too have decided to start taking the game semi-seriously to the point where I can have time to still do all my other bullshit, like editing videos and, you know, my normal 9 to 5, which is probably not really a 9 to 5, but which will hopefully be coming back pretty soon, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing to talk about in relation to the competitive scene is because I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet. It's so Riot has announced that they've got like what seasonal championships going
Yeah.
on, and so there are four like regions that will have championships. It's like America, Asia, Europe, and somewhere else.
America, Asia, and Europe, I think, were the only ones. There's nothing really announced for OCE.
Yeah, I know they didn't do OCE, but
Oh, it might be Southeast Asia as well.
could it be like North Asia and Southeast Asia tournament
Yeah.
structure? It would make sense if they split up Asia.
I think they've split up Asia, and it's I don't know if it was confirmed, but I think because like we play on the NA server, so I think we would be qualifying for North American tournaments down here if we were trying to get
Okay,
in.
yeah. So it has four regional shards: Americas, Asia, Europe, and Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess they bundle us in with Americas because we're English speaking, whereas Southeast Asia they have all the random Asian languages. Like they now got the Thai server or some shit.
Yeah, they're adding new languages all the time. I think they very recently just added like Taiwanese or something like that to their pool of languages.
It's okay. Let me give you some
all right.
some worldly advice. Okay, Taiwanese is not a language.
Okay.
It's a country because Taiwanese speak Chinese because they're a part of China, and I say that in quotation marks because that whole free Taiwan from China thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just like how Mexicans don't speak Mexican.
You say that, but I've spoken to a Mexican guy and I've tried to do the like polite thing and been like, oh yeah, because like there was a time where I thought maybe I'd like to learn Spanish, and I was talking to this guy and talking about speaking Spanish with this guy, and every time he said speaking Spanish, he said speaking Mexican. So I don't know. Okay, maybe
Oh, really?
maybe
Okay.
Mexican people think they are speaking a different language, even though it's virtually the same, bar some like particular dialect things or something.
Okay.
So
But yeah,
I don't know. All right.
cool.
Take that with a little
So,
grain of salt.
Yeah. So it seems like for this tournament, it happens at the end of the season, and at the end of every season, 1,024 qualifying players in each of the regional shards will play.
Yeah.
So 1,024. That's equal brackets. I forget how many to power of 2 it is. It's probably like to power of 9 or power of 10. Yeah. Because if you keep doubling up 2, so it's exactly a square. It's an exact bracket. So it's like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and then next one up is 1024. Yeah, so basically, in order to get like top 8, you got to win through a whole bunch of rounds. You got to straight win. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've announced 2 ways to qualify. So you can do the normal ladder route. You can grind up and you can get to the top bracket on the ladder, which is more or less the way most people are going to do it. But also,
Yeah.
of course, we do already have gauntlets over the weekend, and if you win the gauntlet, your first 7 wins in your first round, in your first go of the gauntlet on the weekend, then you get like one of these like Prime Glory tokens, which is essentially just a buy round towards a final gauntlet that's going to happen like much later on. So if you win a whole bunch of these Prime Glories, then you only have to play like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 rounds to qualify for the tournament.
2 rounds, yeah.
To qualify for the main tournament.
Yeah. But like, okay, so like I find it a little bit like annoying that you still have to be the first 300 players to get like 7 wins at the last chance gauntlet. So like, yeah, so if you happen to, I don't know, have work that day, or you can't play as soon as like the gauntlet starts, you're at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
You basically just have to like make sure that you're ready to go as soon as that gauntlet's ready to go.
Well, I normally only work over the weekends. I work Friday to Monday at the moment. Or even Saturday to Monday. My Saturdays and my Sundays get swapped up a lot. So Saturdays and Fridays get swapped up a lot. So like I don't really have a chance to have a proper go at the gauntlet. Not that I know how many people are getting their prime glories straight up. So it sort of seems like for the most part, gauntlets are a little bit out of the way for me.
Yeah. Yeah, like, then again, like, an extra... Okay, so I don't think the extra prime glories, like, the difference between, like, say, 5 prime glories and 4 prime glories, I don't think the time factor is going to be a major factor, but it just means that you have less games you need to win in order to qualify.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but, like, still, if you have to win that final game, like, yeah, you could get your 5 prime glory tokens, and then win your win one round, and then you go double loss, and then it's like, all right, that's it, your entire season over.
Right. Yeah. I ideally, I think you play both. You play ladder, and then you just like you play your gauntlet on the weekend when it comes up, and then you just go right back to laddering.
Yeah,
Have you started your ladder grind?
I have started my ladder grind, but I haven't grinded super duper hard yet, because I don't grind it during the week because I'm working and doing business. But I'm currently silver 2 or some shit.
You had to start right from the bottom too, didn't you?
I started from bottom of bronze, I think.
Because you took like 2 seasons off.
Yeah. But like, yeah, the games at the bottom of the ladder have been super free.
Oh, absolutely.
I win at least 80% of games. I've been playing Swain TF.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's a very solid
TF,
deck right now. Very solid deck.
it works
right
for
now.
me. Yeah, it works for me. But yeah, so I'll slowly grind my way up to what, Challenger? Is that what it's called?
Masters, yeah.
And then Masters, and then that's where the real grind happens.
I started my grind this week. I took a season off, and so I started from Silver 1, and it was pretty free right into Platinum. I got there basically just like, within a few hours. Like I probably only played 40 games or something like that. And normally, like the moment I get into Platinum, I start having a really rough time. But I was playing like some fun Undying decks, because when it's like at that level of the ladder, it kind of doesn't matter what you play. And pretty much all of the people who were gonna be who were like Masters competitors have already like gotten into Diamond or Masters already, so you don't have like super good players to worry about. So I was just playing like some troll shit, and then once I got into Platinum, I swapped it up. So I'm playing. There's this fun little deck that's just appeared, and it's very similar to it's basically War Mothers. But everyone's kind of agreed, you know what, this War Mothers card, kind of not that good. Let's just cut it and play Ledros instead. So it's a deck that runs virtually very similar cards. It runs Ramp, but it runs Revitalizing Roar, Atrocity, Ledros. The idea being, if you have 13 mana, you can Roar Ledros to 0 mana. You can play him, and then you still have enough to Atrocity that turn.
Ah, okay.
But even still, if you play him and he survives a turn, you've still got a good Atrocity target. There are some Frostbite decks running around, though, which kind of just like completely bricks your Atrocity. Like Flash Freeze is in the meta at the moment. A lot of people are playing Flash Freeze. And it's basically anytime a dude has 3 mana up and you're playing against a Freljord deck, it's like you just can't Atrocity, you'll lose.
Yeah, like single-handedly, Frostbite counters a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, Sejuani Ash has made a real resurgence, like the Noxus deck.
I did see that. Like, I did see, like, a couple of them. Yeah, I did see a couple of them. So, yeah, so probably some streamer said it was probably decent, and then that's why people jumping on it again.
Yeah. Right now, I think there's, like, 3 decks right now. There's, like, the Ledros deck that I play, the Swain TF deck you play, and Discard Aggro is, like, really big right now, because Swim won a tournament with Discard Aggro very recently, and so it's all the hype right now. And then, like, this Ledros, I call it a discovery. It's just we stopped playing. Literally, we just stopped playing War Mothers, and Swain TF. Swain's been a very consistent card. Took people a little while to get onto him once he was first initially released, but he's been very consistent since then. He's a very strong champion, locks you out of the game pretty hard, and it's really just that Leviathan card's pretty good, man.
Yeah, so like his boat is good. It searches for the Swain. Swain has good stats, you know,
Yeah.
like that really high health stat.
Yeah,
He's got fear.
Yeah. And then the deck has the ability to play like really aggressive to start with as well. And Flock is really good at dealing with Trundle. Trundle is by a lot of people's measure the best unit in the game right now because his health stat is so high and he's consistently being played on turn 4 with ramp. So people ramp into Trundle turn 4 and then a lot of the time he sticks around for the rest of the game. Like, it's very hard to get rid of him, but Swain doesn't have a tremendously hard time dealing with it because he just needs to, because Trundle just needs to block like 2 damage and then he gets flocked and he dies. And then even a tiny bit more and it's like not even troll chance getting him out of it. And those are kind of like the main decks being played right now. Like those 3 are the main ones, and then it's like Ash Sejuani Noxus gets a bit of play. Tahm Kench is being played with Soraka by a lot of people, and it's probably the most like boring, frustrating deck in the game right now. And there's probably one other I'm forgetting, and then everything else is just like rogue decks. Like sometimes I still run into like Sejuani Gangplank and things like that. I guess Pirate Aggro still gets played quite a bit, but I feel like it's starting to drop off in favor of discard aggro, to be honest.
Lee Sin is definitely starting to drop off.
Lee Sin, I think Lee Sin is a tremendously overhyped card in general. I don't know if people are playing him less. I'm certainly running into him a lot less. I climbed from in a day. I went from bottom of platinum right up to plat 1, almost into diamond, just because there's like a whole bunch of games one after the other. I'm just into discard aggro, and discard aggro loses very hard to Whale and Avalanche, very hard. So as a grouping of very easy games one after the other, which is where I'm sitting pretty at the moment. But yeah, there are quite a lot of decks on ladder right now. And a lot of people are kind of shit-mouthing the meta a little bit, but like there's always like Reddit complainers. A lot of people are really, really hating on Lee Sin. I know I don't think Tahm Kench is an incredible deck. Tahm Kench Soraka is an incredible deck compared to some other options that are available, but I think it's a very frustrating deck to play against. I don't know what your experience is going up into the fucking... I just sit here and heal myself for like 20 turns until I win.
I definitely had to try against Tahm Kench. But like it's only in the mid game where you really have to try. So basically the two turns after Tahm Kench is out, those are the most important turns of the game. You basically need to kill the Tahm Kench and while also playing dudes and also keeping enough mana open. Because if you just like play dude after dude, he'll just eat your dudes and then they'll heal up and then you're screwed. So basically, how you play around the Tahm Kench is really important. I found that in those turns you really have to sit down and think, oh yeah, what can my opponent do? What can I do in these very specific situations? And see who can like get like have the final out. But then again, like I played decks with like removal damage and stuff. Yeah, that's annoying. So I've been playing decks with like removal and damage and stuff. So it hasn't been too bad for me to deal with Tahm Kench. In my experience, like it's never come close for me. In terms of the healing spring, my opponent's never gotten close to getting the healing spring victory. Yeah.
My particular deck, I don't have like healing spring removal, but I run like triple vengeance. And I've completely cut Ruination out of the deck. I think a lot of people are starting to cut Ruination from the deck, as most people are either at 0 ruination or 1 ruination at the moment. So it's pretty much just shoot him every single time he hits the board. And if they have Bastion mana, I run like 5 2-mana pings in the deck. So like three vials, 2 unspeakables. So Bastion's never normally a problem either.
It's crazy how Vengeance actually sees play. Like, Vengeance, in all accounts, in every other card game, Vengeance would be one of those common cards that gets thrown into a starter deck.
Yeah.
Because it's an overcosted, like, removal spell. So it's never competitively good in any other game, right?
Yeah.
But it sees so much play in this game for some reason. Yeah. I think it's because, like, the game is kind of snowbally. So if your opponent has a particular unit and they enhance it somehow with some sort of spell, that Vengeance is what you really need at that point to, like, get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tom Soraka hasn't been that. Yeah, Tom Soraka hasn't been that bad for me.
It seems like a lot of people are playing it thinking it's like this really unfair, your opponent can't do anything against it deck, right up until they get to like the high sides of Diamond, and then this is the good players anyway, and then they're like, I have to change to like Swain TF, man. It's not, or I have to change to Lee Sin or something because it's just not carrying them the rest of the way. So I don't know. It feels like a real bandwagon deck right now, and it's got to run out of steam eventually because I feel like the whole deck lives or dies by Tahm Kench and Astral Protection. Like if it has both of those two things, then it works really well. But if it doesn't have them, then it's just like useless.
Yeah, because his base health isn't super high.
Yeah.
So, yeah, without the Astral, he can't get his health up to a point where he's eating, like, mid-range dudes.
Yeah.
Because, like, if your opponent doesn't have mana open for Astral, and they try to eat one of your mid-sized guys, and you respond with, like, some sort of nuke on it, they can't heal in between, like, your nuke and them eating your guy.
Yeah.
So the only way they can get out of it is if they, like, bump the health up, which is, like, just Astral. Or, like, Bastion or something.
Yeah, they've only got access to Bastion and Astral to buff their stats. Everything else is just straight healing. And then hilariously, they don't even have, other than Guiding Touch, a lot of direct healing to face other than Broadbacks. So if you can deal a lot of direct damage, that seems really good against the deck, as long as you can deal with Broadbacks.
Yeah. The deck also seems to be super weak against Fear. Because
all two attack units, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And they, like, besides from Bastion, they have no way to bump their guys up to free attack. So you just basically send them in.
Yeah. They can Pale Cascade, but it's, you can only do it so many times. The deck has a decent amount of cycle, but only if, like, Soraka's on the board.
Yeah. It needs gimmicks to block Fear dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess that's the general meta. So, yeah. Monuments of Power, a whole bunch of stuff has come out. So let's touch on the patch, the nerfs and buffs first.
Yeah, sure.
I think they're all nerfs.
Let's take a look at all the bullshit first, and then we'll
Cool.
talk about some of the new stuff.
So 4 cards got nerfed. First one is Genevieve Elmhart. She was a 6-cost 5/5, and now she's a 6-cost 5/4. Interesting that they dialed her back. Because she started off being a 6-cost 4/4, and then they bumped her up to a 5/4.
5/5.
5/5, and now they nerfed her down to a 5/4. It's interesting how just, like, tweaking one stat is supposed to make her fair. Like, I think, okay, so the issue, I think, with Elmhart, with Genevieve, previously as a 5/5, is that you'd play her, and then she'd swing, and then she would hit, like, a small guy.
Yeah.
She could hit, like, a medium-sized guy with 5 health, kill them, and then she goes in for a second swing and swings into a big guy, and just, like, trades into it. But nerfing her down to 4 health, you can still do that, but it's just a little bit more risky to run into like a free attack dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the top guys are saying that this is a bit unwarranted, and it's mainly because Scouts got a shitload of play when the set dropped, and it was just so they could outpace the ASOL decks, because there were a lot of ASOL decks in the meta. And even with a big body like Trundle, I mean, when you got like a wide board and a lot of challenges, he just can't deal with all of it. So Scouts were really quite oppressive to begin with, and sort of less so as the meta's become more developed and there have been a lot more buffs and nerfs, and we saw this big like Lee Sin emergence and things like that. So a lot of them are saying it's quite unwarranted, but I feel like it's also kind of like a future-proofing nerf, because I know they work like a few weeks behind when they're making these patches. So they made this change for like a meta that's already passed, like from a couple weeks ago or something like that. But I also feel like long-term 5 health Genevieve is like, there will inevitably be a time when a 6 mana buff your board 1/1 is really good again. And so I think in terms of the future, it's probably a warranted nerf. Because I think she is too strong. Even though her current region is not particularly good at the moment.
I don't know if she was too strong. She was definitely solid at 5/5. Yeah, because like every region should have specific cards at certain power levels that are like stronger than other regions. Because that shows off the strengths of those particular cards, right?
Yeah. It's their power spike.
Well, like, yeah, it's their power spike, right? And all regions have their like different like power spikes at different stages of the game. And I think the 5 and 6s are like kind of
they're like
that spike that Demacia has.
Yeah, they're like Demasia's identity, the 5 and 6 drops.
Yeah. Because Demacia has like pretty garbage freeze. Yeah. So like I think it's fine. You let Demacia have what makes them good, and other regions have like what makes them good, right? Yeah, and it's like I don't know what they mean by like, oh yeah, there's not enough counterplay with this chick. She's like just nuke her or something. The opponent's paying 6 into it, so yeah, if you got some sort of removal or like some sort of like way to deal with her that turn, there's plenty of ways to like go even against.
She would often get hushed on her on entry, so she didn't have Challenger and Scout. So like I don't know, like I trust the nerf in a way, but I also do generally get sad whenever Demacia gets nerfed, because hilariously, despite being the boring region, it is my favorite region.
Like, yeah, Demacia gets a lot of nerfs, man. They get so many nerfs.
It's all Reddit, man. It's all Reddit.
Yeah.
Most nerfs happen because of Reddit.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't touch Reddit, but yeah. But then, oh my god, the community is like complains a lot. It's the thing is that all the good players that can deal with stuff, they don't complain about stuff. So the only people that complain on Reddit and Facebook are the people that don't know how to handle this shit.
Well, I can tell you now for a fact that 2 cards that are getting nerfed or changed in the next patch are Lee Sin and Make It Rain.
I could see that. Make It Rain was carrying my Swain TF deck when I was against all the aggro. You just like you drop a barrel, then you make it rain, you clear the board out, feels good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So next card that got a nerf in this patch is Bastion. Still does the same thing, except it costs 4 instead of 3. It got the deny treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really a 3
basically because
anymore in most decks. Most people have dropped this down to a 2, sometimes even a 1. Hilariously, in my Taric deck, I've completely pulled this card. At 4 mana, it's just too shit for Taric now.
Yeah, like the thing is that like what I think they finally discovered is that free mana denies like are too strong.
Yeah.
So like yeah, because that way you can play on curve. That's the biggest issue is that you can drop a dude on curve and then you just had one spell ready to go to protect them from one of your opponent's pieces of removal,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, so that's why. So the bump between 3 and 4 is massive. I think we've talked about that in terms of spells. Yeah, so like yeah, so the issue with Bastion is that yeah, it can't be used in conjunction with dudes being played on curve, just like standalone. Oh my god, it's just like all the free cost spells have to be like all the free cost spells that are proactive, have to get nerfed, or even reactive as well. But like, yeah, all the non-removal free cost spells have to go up to 4. Yeah, because then they're too good. They're too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a spell mana thing. But yeah, Bastion's hilariously, even Bastion is, I'm not going to say it's getting completely cut from Lee Sin, but its copies are being drastically reduced in favor of another card that's not in this patch, but it is a new release that we can talk about later.
Yep. Cool. Next card is Hush. Yet another change to this card. So Hush got nerfed and then nerfed again, and now it's in its kind of final stage, which is it's now just a 2-cost burst spell that just silences a dude for a turn. Champions or followers.
Yeah, the response for Hush has been really quite positive in the community. A lot of people have even gone to say this is a better card than old Hush, which I don't know. I think it's definitely better than the Hush that becomes 4 mana after the first time you use it. I don't know if it's better than the original Hush, where you could just like AoE, like hit everything really cheaply. But 2 mana silence anything is really flexible, especially when it comes to like the buffing game. Like, ooh, I'm gonna put 2 damage on my card, and then the other guy goes, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna hush your card, and then it's like, ooh, and I've still got another hush right here, so you can't buff it again. But
yeah.
So there's a lot more back and forth with this current version of Hush, which I think everyone really likes for the most part. Anyway.
Yeah. So right now, Hush just seems like it's more of just like a good value tool as opposed to almost being like insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's much more mid-rangey tool now because like yeah, there's a lot of times where you just have 2 spell mana open, and it's just like yeah, it's a good way to help you get over little minor things that trip you up. Yeah,
it is also still like a cheap way to pop spell shields as well. It still gets a little bit of that treatment, although to be honest, I think it's arguably, assuming Bastion is like a 3 of in some people's decks, I think it's better to use a two fast speed spells together to like pop a barrier and then hit it, like Varfeast Vengeance, as opposed to like Hush Vengeance, because they have an opportunity to reapply the barrier at burst speed. Yeah. And I think even Troll Chant is getting used slightly less because of that reason.
Yeah. So yeah, no, like the new Hush is like I wouldn't say I dislike the old Hush, but like yeah, I like this Hush.
Yeah.
It works for me. Yeah. Yeah. And the final card that got a nerf was Living Legends. It used to fill up it used to refill all your mana. Now it just refills your mana gems to full, and it doesn't, so it no longer refills spell mana. Yeah. So it like to be honest, like I never even played this card in Constructed because I didn't play Asol, but yeah, basically it never seemed fantastic when you were playing it without Asol, but when you do have it with Asol, it's just like yeah, you're winning the game anyways.
Sorry. Yeah, that's more or less how I felt about Living Legends. Seems like a really unnecessary change, to be honest. I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish with something like this, especially since ASOL had already been nerfed. And I think this very much is an ASOL card. You will only take this card off of like star shaping or whatever if there was no other option and you're not playing ASOL. Was like the only reason you'd really take this, just to see like, ooh, can I draw a whole bunch of useful like cheap tools as opposed to with ASOL, it's like, yeah, let's just get all the fucking 9 costs we can, right?
Yeah, all the big boys down. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Living Legends, it's hilarious. This is a very different card inside and outside of ASOL, right? It's like completely different card, even though it does the exact same thing.
Yeah, like yes, obviously because yeah, it's like ASOL is basically what makes this card playable. So, to be honest, they didn't need to nerf it. Yeah, they didn't need to nerf it. It doesn't even change how playable this card is, because like when it's good, it's still equally as good.
Yeah, because all your shit's
when it's
zero
bad,
mana, right? Yeah.
Yeah, when it's bad, it just made it even more bad. Like, but the thing was, no one was complaining about how good this card was when it was bad. You know, no one was complaining about, oh yeah, I didn't like my opponent just played Raw Living Legends and played a guy or 2 guys. This card's unfair. No, it's yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like no one was complaining about those Mountain Scryer decks that allowed them to like get 2 or 3 Mountain Scryers down, then play Living Legends and play 2 guys with this card, maybe even 3 guys with this card.
Yeah.
No one complained about shit.
To be honest, Invoke decks have more or less fallen completely off the face of the planet. It's kind of like that extra guy you get off invoking is more like a bonus than anything else. ASOL's the only guy who's really invoking anything right now.
Yeah, like the metagame just seems very mid-game tempo based right now. So you just like you don't have the mana open to dick around with guys that on that 3 to 4 range, where trying to get like trying to invoke dudes. So I don't know, so like every patch Riot just has like a random token card that they'll change for for no reason, right? And Living Legends is just like the random card that they change this time. But yeah. And everything else is more or less the same. They released some other cool stuff like
emotes and shit like that.
Emotes and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's like one little thing that annoyed me? I don't really care, but the Shyvana emote, you can't buy that separately. You have to buy it as a part of the Shyvana bundle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nah.
That's annoying.
Yeah, but the new Infernal Drake is kind of cool.
Yeah, he comes and he like burns down your board and yeah.
Yeah, he comes in and like does a little bit of flame. Yeah. Other than that, I literally never noticed him.
These are some pretty funny emotes, but I kind of don't bother setting my emotes anymore. As to be honest, the emotes are making me more. They're not making me more toxic, but I'm more toxic when I have emotes, because when people are roping me or doing shit like that, I send the heart all the time, and I send the gangplank peeling the orange, waiting for them to hurry the fuck up all the time. But if I run the generic nothing emotes, I just won't use them because they seem so cringe.
Yeah, like
And then when people emote me, I just mute straight away now. I just don't even fuck
Oh,
around.
do you? Okay.
I'm just like... Because when people are like... Because like a dude today casts his 3rd Astral Protection on me without even getting like that much draw. And he like sends me the Teemo, and I'm just like, you're fucking cringe, and I just mute straight away. Just like,
okay.
Yeah, good work. You played your card that I assumed you wouldn't have because it'd be your 3rd one. Like, congratulations.
Okay. I had a very similar thing to that, actually. I did this twice in the last week with two separate people. Like, it's almost exactly like you said, right? So, when you set certain combat up and your opponent uses like the combat trick that you expected them to do. So it's okay. So basically, I set it up so my opponent was attacking with a Soraka, and then I block my guy, and then they use Astral on it, or they use Fury of the North on their guy. But either way, they bumped their health up to 4. And then they did the Braum wave, and then I'm like, okay. So and then like I flock it because your 4 is enough to counter their 4. So like I Ravenous flock it, and then at that point on, I just rope them. Like at that point, I've got the game won, so I'll just rope them, right? Like basically, I don't even give a shit. It's not even worth my time. But basically, you think you're so smart because you played a spell which I basically pushed you into playing.
Yeah.
Just so I could like then do removal on you, right? So when that happens, I just rope it all the way down. Yeah. So the first guy I did against, after like I was in a winning position, he just surrendered. It's like yes. It's like it's far like what I used to do is like I just win, and then on the winning turn I would just like spam Braum emote on them. But now like I've upped my counter emote game by just roping them. Yeah.
It often seems like as well, like the Soraka Tahm Kench deck, I feel like I get emoted by these people all the time because they think their deck is so hilarious, so fucking like 12 head. So they just like send you emotes when they fucking like astral protect their shit and stuff like that, and they're like, "Ooh, suck it, you big fucking idiot." Oh my god. I swear, it must be just people who, like, when their meme decks finally become good, they just like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna get back at all you fucking, like, aggro control players for shitting on me for the last, like, 3 sets. Here I go. Ooh, here's my emotes. I'm gonna get you. This guy ate... I flipped my Draven, because he ate my Draven, and if you throw axes on Draven, he strikes first, and then he flips, and then it gets eaten.
Yep.
Like I'm waiting for him to cast his like eat on me in this game, and he just never does it. He never does it. He gets down to 3 mana. He finally casts it on a 2/1. His Kench is at 4 health, and I've got 2 axes in hand. And I'm like, there's no 1 mana heal in the game. What are you doing? That were in his regions. So I put 2 axes on, send him the Darius straight away. And he sends the Darius back and surrenders. And I'm like, what did you think would happen? You can see my axes. Yeah. Don't be toxic, you fuckwit. Yeah.
But yeah. And then to really rub it in, it's just like, yeah, if you have burst spells when you're winning, you just cast the burst spells one at a time, and then you fucking sit back, let the rope re-rope again.
Every time with a gem pass. Your move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the game right now. Okay.
But yeah, like emotes suck, man. Emotes suck.
Yeah. I used to think they were funny in certain situations and things like that. But it's like when I have them, when I have certain emotes, like I'll use them for certain situations. But I don't know. Like I just get angrier when I've got them. So I just use the default ones, and I never use the default ones because I don't like the default ones. So I just don't.
As bad as it sounds, emotes would probably be better and less toxic if chat was on, right? Because if you got chat on, right, you can like banter with your opponent a little bit. You know, if your opponent hits you with like the 1/1 like Omen Hawk bird, you'd be like, "Oh man, what a savage hit" or something, and you can joke around. And at that point, you know, if you're not playing a ranked game, you can like joke around and meme around a little bit, right? At which point, if you drop memes at that point, it's like, it's like, you know, we're having a lighthearted game and it's funny and like we're dropping memes and stuff, right? But without that contextual chat to give the interaction some context, every emo seems like toxicity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I play League of Legends with all chat on, and when people shitmouth me or whatever, like I don't get angry at chat. in League of Legends, I never get angry at the chat. I do not care about the chat. When people send me messages and shit talk me in all chat, I just say stuff like, "Yep, you got me, bro. Good job," and I just like don't care. And then I never talk to my team because talking to your team is the worst thing you can do in a normal game of League of Legends. That's where the toxicity comes from. Your opponents you can always have fun with, I feel.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like, I've played a lot of games now, and there are just so many people that are sore losers. Like, losing happens. It's a part of life. You know?
It's definitely a part of card games.
Yeah. It's like in all games, right? It's like you lose some games, you know? It's like yeah, unless you want to play a game where the good guy, the good player wins like 95% of the time, it's like, yeah, you're just gonna have some games where you lose, right? You know? Why don't you go play chess? If you want a real skill intensive game, just play chess, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's in that game, there's like, it's open information, like open information, non-random chance, you know? The good player will beat the crap player like, what, 95% of the time or something, right?
Absolutely.
Depending on how separated their elo powers are, how high their power levels are.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, actually, like, there was a guy in the Dragon Ball community that explained to me what elo rankings are. So elo rankings, because they say, oh yeah, you know, Deep Blue had a hypothetical elo rating of this number, and then this new computer has a hypothetical elo ranking of this number, and so I was like how, like, what does elo ranking like 8,000 mean, man? Like, what does that even mean? Who are they playing against in like the 7,000 elo bracket? But apparently there's a mathematical formula where basically elo means this player will win like X amount percentage of the time against another player of a specific elo. So that's how they measure elo at that point. It's like, yeah.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from emotes and general toxicity in card games, we have some new cards, of course. You've all seen them, but we're sort of going to give our take on them now. And there's plenty to talk about. We'll start off with the cards that were revealed with the PNZ landmark. And take it away, my man.
Sure. So, first card we have is Patch Porobot. It's a 2-cost 2/2. 2-cost 2/3. While it's a Poro. While in hand, I have a random keyword that changes each round. When I'm summoned, grant me this keyword. Not gonna lie, I didn't know this card existed.
I've seen it a few times, but I kind of really don't care about this card. Like, there's a decent amount of Poro support in PNZ now.
Yeah, so you put the Poro cannon in this guy.
Yeah. So, like, I guess that's kind of good for you, like, Poro players out there. But also Hush is in the game now, so you probably feel pretty shit when you play.
I don't know, man. If your opponent Hush is a Poro bot, so you don't care.
No, the
Cool.
Hush the big Poro.
Oh yeah, the harder fluffed, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I think Poro players in general just feel pretty upset about that anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about a Poro bot that much.
You just gotta win using Poro snacks, man. You gotta spam the Poro snacks and Poro Borealis.
Yeah.
Aurora Boreal.
It's a significantly better deck if you just drop the big Poro and you just, like, go wide every turn and just like, now instead of playing like 130-30 Poro with Overwhelm that's vulnerable to any form of Hush or removal, I'll just play 6 like 4-4-5-5 Poros or something like that.
You can just, like, if you have enough Poro snacks, you can just like Poro cannon. Yeah, you can Poro cannon in like 3-3-4-4 like elusive Poros, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think a 2/3, just like a 2-mana 2/3, first of all, is on curve stats anyway. And then also coming with like a free random keyword of some kind, but you also get to like choose when you like put it down.
When you want to lock it in,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, seems like a decently good card, to be honest.
Like,
there's
when it's good, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, there's a there's a rising trend of people who really hate random mechanics in Legends of Runeterra, which is partly why like Make It Rain is getting nerfed. And like, I don't want to start any drama or anything, but it's mainly Mogwai driven right now. He's got a
Oh,
huge
really?
community, and he talks about on stream all the time the types of things that he thinks are really bad for the game, and he goes on and on and on about well, when these cards were revealed, particularly, like he went on and on about how I do not want random mechanics in my game. If I wanted random mechanics in my game, I'd go play Hearthstone and shit like that. And you know, it gets the community riled up, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I don't fucking want random mechanics." I mean, you could argue that Mogwai is partly a big reason why Nab now takes from the bottom of the deck, even though it is way better for you if Nab is taking from the top of your deck. Now we have to have Nab take from the bottom of the deck, which is way worse for you, because it doesn't matter what card gets taken off the top of your deck. You never knew what that card was going to be anyway, so there's no big strategy in, oh, I need this particular order of cards on top of my deck, and if you nab those cards, now I can't play my strat. You didn't know you were
Yeah.
going to draw that fucking card, dick shit, but guess what? Because that guy drew those cards from the top of your deck, you drew your Sejuani quicker than he drew his Twisted Fate, or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like people like that are the people who like people with that mentality are the people who think that they can beat the casino. It's like, oh yeah, it's landed on red like 3 times in a row. The next one is like super likely chance to go to black. But it's like, dude, that's not how probability works.
No, it's
Yeah.
yeah. It's got the
It's
same
independent
chance of
events.
landing on red or
Yeah.
black, yeah, as it did
Yeah.
all those 3 previous times.
So it's like, oh yeah, you know, if I do hard the cards, I'll get the card that I need, or if I do hard the cards to the nab, I'll nab my opponent's card that they need, or whatever. It's just like it's a random chance. You treat it as just even random chance of it gimping you or whatever. But yeah, as for like Patch Porobot, it's like it's random keyword, like, because alright, so it's like it's different keywords all have a similar-ish level of power. There are definitely certain keywords that are probably much stronger. Like, probably the strongest keyword is, like, what, Double Strike or something? But, you know, like, if you give it Elusive, it's fine. Quick Attack is probably not super amazing, but it's probably still okay. Elusive's fine. Tough's fine. Yeah, so, like, Challenger's, like, fine. You know, most of them are fine. You know, it's just occasionally you'll get like the overpowered double attack Porobot.
Double attack Porobot.
Yeah,
That would be funny.
yeah, man. But yeah, no, I think it's fine.
As far as RNG goes, for a card like this, like, oh, you get a random keyword, but you can see what keyword it is before you're gonna play it. It's just like, it's so low on the RNG list, it just like doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, like, you know what you're getting when you play it, so it's not like he gets a random like keyword when you play him. You know, it's not like Hearthstone Shaman. Oh yeah, I need the fire totem. I need. And it's like what was it? I need the wind totem. I need the wind totem. I need the wind totem. I got the wind totem. I win. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patched Porobot. There you go.
Cool. So next card is Nopify. It's a 2-cost fast spell. Stop a fast or slow spell that costs 3 or less. So yeah, so I also noticed that Lee Sin decks had played this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like triple Nopify, triple Deny right now. Which is pretty mental. So as far as like that goes, playing against Lee Sin, it's like, okay, I need to use an expensive piece of removal to get rid of Lee Sin, hold mana open in case he's one of those guys still running Bastion in his deck, so I can like pop the Bastion, but also not play that big expensive combination of spells while he has Deny mana open. And then like low cost removal. doesn't really work either because now Notify is in the deck. Yeah, it's like triple Notify, triple Deny right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it's interesting because like now, like between Targon and Ionia, it's got the full suite to counter any meta of like spells. You know, if it's more control meta, you just like bump up the denies. If it's like more burn and like lower cost spells, you just like Notify it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems fine. Obviously very meta dependent,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was working for me. Probably still fine in this current meta. Notifying like Noxus spells are pretty good.
Yeah. You can get excited when it's face damage, or like sometimes even a Vile Feast matters. Notifying someone else's Notify. You know, the fucking deny chains are back. It goes, get excited. No, it's like, get excited, Notify. Well, I'm gonna Notify your Notify. Well, I'm gonna deny your Notify. Well, I'm gonna deny your deny.
Yeah, that's true. You can't Notify a deny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, it seems fine, seems solid. Ionia's big problem is that its dudes aren't really that good. It doesn't have very many good dudes. You've got like just two Ionian dudes. It's Lee Sin and the dragon chick.
Yeah, they just like
the dragon monk
carrying the region right now.
Yeah, and maybe the tasty Fey folk. But it's like Ionia's like 3 dudes. Those are like the only 3 Ionian dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Zed, but nah, not Zed anymore because Bastion got nerfed, but yeah.
I'm firmly in the camp that everyone overhyped the shit out of Zed, and like everyone realistically should have cut Zed from their deck way quicker than they have been.
Okay.
I'm firmly of that opinion.
Okay.
I think there are. If you want to go second champions, I even think Diana's a better option than Zed.
Maybe not in the Lee Sin deck, but like Bastion Zed was a very strong opening. Yeah, it did pressure pretty hard if you had odd turns.
Well, it wasn't nearly like standalone Zed. Like standalone Zed was pretty crazy. This is much more manageable.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like he was hanging around very long. And I feel like the deck also had like build issues. Like it wanted to go heavy in the Lee Sin direction or the Zed direction, but the Zed direction wasn't as good as the Lee Sin direction.
Because their win conditions are very perpendicular to each other.
Yeah.
Like, because with the Lee Sin win con, it doesn't matter what life your opponent's on. If they're even if they're 20, it's just like you just kill them outright. So chipping them doesn't even matter, right? So in fact, what it would have been more relevant is if like it was Zed with additional burn or something to like Zed can easily put down like 10, 12 damage like straight up, and then you just use your other bullshit to like sneak in the rest, right? But yeah, not in the Lee Sin deck. You know, going part of the way with Zed doesn't necessarily make it easier for the Lee Sin to finish a job by a huge amount.
Like I would almost say that if not for Solari Priestess being a 1/2, I feel like the mono Lee Sin version has always been like my favorite version of Lee Sin, because you can like almost always guarantee having Lee Sin every game, so you can set up the win con. I don't know, like I could be wrong. I just never really liked the idea. I never really liked Zed in practice in the deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. But next card is Trevor Snoozebottom. 3 cost 0 free. Support. Create a attacking Mumble Sprite with his supported ally stats. So he basically makes his supported ally Zed.
Yeah, but the shadow clone's elusive.
With the shadow clones. Yeah, so thing is he's 0 free though.
Yeah, he's bad. Like the fucking tempo loss that comes from playing a 0 attack 3 mana unit that needs to support.
Like, okay, so when you think about it this way, right? Like, there are plenty of like free cost free frees already in the game that have some sort of effect. This guy, like he's like, why does he have to be 0 attack, man? He didn't need to be 0 attack. They could have given him like 2 attack, and he would have been fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, War Chefs. They made him 1 free, and he feels bad. Why did they make this guy that costs free 0 free, right? Like, they could have just made him War Chef's ability, you know? Cost 1 extra, you get a little bit more juice, you know?
The only way you're getting good value out of this unit, you're not playing him on turn 3. You're playing him, like, way later in the game as some kind of, like, elusive win con. And then I just feel like, you know, why don't you just play the fucking... Why don't you just play the elusive dragon or something? Or fucking... If it's that late in the game and you want to, like, create an elusive copy of a card.
Like, this... Okay, so admittedly... Okay, like, I'm not even sure about this. But arguably, this card is a better support for that 4-cost bear-looking thing. The one that has both a support and supported type effect. Because Lulu doesn't support that bear very well. This guy can make that bear do something.
So when that guy gets supported, he gets 3 attack?
Yeah. And he makes the next guy plus
so what
3 health.
So what triggers first? That guy getting 3 attack, and then it creates a Mumble Sprite with that 3 attack? Okay, this is one for the lab.
Yeah, this is one to figure out.
Because then, like,
yeah, it's still not clear in this game how certain abilities trigger in what orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other issue with this guy is that he's a 0-3 on defense. This is this big support problem. Most support guys aren't doing anything on defense.
Yeah.
Like, this is even more of a dead card than any other support unit in the game on defense. Worse than Tarek. Tarek's a 2-4 nothing on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, like, nah, it's... Like, yeah, you can... Yeah, like, admittedly, even if you... Okay, let's say if you get a big boy down, right? Let's say if you can get a 5-5 copied onto the Mumble Sprite, right? You're not getting a 5-5 Mumble Sprite, you're getting an elusive 5-5. Yeah. Like, and that's in a pretty optimal situation. Yeah. And so your opponent is either going to free kill this guy, or... Yeah, your opponent's either going to free kill this guy, or your opponent just, like, lets the other one sneak in to face for damage.
This card is arguably better if instead of being a support, he was an enter play create a copy of targeted card. And then it creates like Mumble Sprite, Ephemeral, whatever.
Yeah.
So you can at least, like, on defense, like, you can create like an Ephemeral blocker and it just like kills their whole turn.
I'm just trying to think how to play this guy. It's like you can't curve him in, right? Because like, yeah, on 2 he's got nothing good to copy.
Yeah, like if your game plan revolves around playing Trevor Snooze Bottom on turn 3, then you're kind of just playing a bad Z deck, right?
Yeah. like, yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's nothing particularly interesting you can do with this guy. If you make his stats better, like it's like, yeah, you can work to make his stats better, but then it's like, is it worth it? Yeah, it doesn't seem worth it.
There's
like,
I guess at the very least, if you have like all supports on the board for a Sojourner's Chain and you don't have like a bottom end target, like the Mumble Sprite becomes your bottom end target on the support train.
Yeah.
So you can like buff the Sojourner's chain with like Lulu, this guy, the bear, all the way down. And then like
Yeah.
at the very end you just get this massive Mumble Sprite that originally comes out like 6-3 because you supported the bear or whatever. But then it also gets like the 2-2 from Sojourners and then whatever else is there.
So it's like, okay, the way I see this card is that, so you play the bear on 4, and then you play this on the following turn.
Mm.
And I'm also not even sure if it's good. If you support the bear with this, you get 2 6-3 bears. The thing is that it's like, okay, the thing is you're creating a Mumble Sprite. You're not creating like an ephemeral copy of the card, so it's not like you can trigger certain effects on the card that you're copying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know, like
you can't abuse like a Nexus Strike effect or something like that, or any kind of
Yeah.
strike effect, which would be really cool in concept to create like, I don't know, like other than I'm deliberately trying to bring up cards other than Middenstoke Henchman. But who's the fuck it like a Laurent Chevalier or something. So like you get 2 procs off Laurent Chevalier because you supported it with this card, create 2 challenges in hand. Or something like that.
or like, yeah, like you can like, if it creates a copy of a guy, then I don't know, you can use it to double up on like the sharks, the ephemeral sharks, or you can use it to get Garen to strike twice, or
Yeah.
whatever, you know. But yeah, it doesn't even. It's like there's no effect combos. You're just getting this dude that is hitting for some damage. Like you'd have to create a 3/3 or better to even make this card like on parity or like equal to all the other 3/3s, right? Or like you'd have to be copying like realistically a 4/3 to at least get Badger Bear level of value, right? And Badger Bear doesn't even see play right now. So yeah, so what could you copy this into to make it worth it? It's like, what's the highest like 2 cost dude, right? Like highest attack power, because you don't care if the Mumble Sprite survives, right? So in theory,
It's like the
best
5-1 from Noxus.
I was about to say that's literally the best. That's
Yeah.
literally the best thing you do. You go to 5-1 like 5-1 chick, and then this guy on the following turn, you send in 2 5-1s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you would almost certainly be having to challenge something with the first one.
yeah,
So you're
Yeah,
only getting in for 5 damage on the Nexus, and then your
Yeah.
Trevor Snoozebottom probably dies anyway because it's a free trade for whatever other card is on the board.
No, like okay, your 0/3, your Trevor Snoozebottom probably survives, right? Because the 5-1 challenger will challenge one of their big guys. Your Trevor Snoozebottom probably doesn't get blocked, right? The 5-1 hits for face, and then now you're left with no board and a 0/3, and your opponent like just gets to like play any dude to punch you back in the face with like zero shits given.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense that this guy has 0 attack. He can fight. He's got one. He's got 1 attack power of fight in him.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
but yeah,
Alright.
he seems bad.
He seems really bad. Okay. Sure.
And the final card to look at in that group of stuff is University of Piltover. 5-cost landmark. Round start, discard your hand, create 3 random cards in hand, and grant them fleeting. I'm not sure about this card. I feel that this card comes in a little bit too late to work with the current discard strategies.
Yeah. I mean, some people are rocking it with Jinx just to get like your rocket at the start of every turn. I don't know if the deck really had a problem creating rockets.
Yeah, the deck didn't have trouble creating rockets.
Yeah, it's kind of the
and usually
issue.
the game is pretty close to over after you flip the Jinx. Yeah.
If you flip the Jinx and it doesn't get immediately removed, Yeah. It's,
Like,
I'm not like super keen on the card, but like there are scenarios where it just like draws you some nut shit and like you just win. And I also think it's been bugged at times. I don't know if it's still in the game, but sometimes like the ordering of drawing and discarding got really weird, and Jinx just wouldn't get the rocket.
okay.
Um, yeah. Plus, like the animation for Jinx getting the rocket doesn't go off. I've noticed when this happens.
Oh, really? Okay.
So half the time, like I'm just playing, they drop this card, it discards the hand. I don't see like the box hit the screen, explode, and the rocket card come out.
Yeah.
Like I just check over the hand, and there's a bunch of fleeting cards, and then for some reason a non-fleeting rocket. But they've always used the rocket, and I don't play Jinx ever, so I've never been able to test if the rocket is actually not fleeting or not.
Okay.
So this card just
Alright.
seems really weird and bugged right now.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, nah. Like, it's a landmark, which means it's more difficult to interact with. Still, okay. At the round start, so basically you've got four cards to use every single turn, right? Because you still draw a card, and then you get 3 rando cards.
I can't tell you for certain what effects are triggering first, before drawing or after drawing. I think you draw and then discard, but I think depending on where your Jinx is positioned on the board, your Jinx will draw you another card before or after this, or...
Oh, yeah, true.
So, I'm really not certain about how it all works together, because I feel like something different has happened every single time I've seen this card in play.
Okay. Yeah.
But
In
here's the problem
theory,
with the card.
Okay. In theory, this card actually is kind of a way for sort of early to mid game decks to still have a late game. Because if you go full aggro, run out of steam, you drop this boy on 5. Now every turn is just like a roll of the dice. Let's go. Let's go. Can my opponent's bullshit strategy deal with 4 cards a turn?
Check it out. I'm a control deck now. Ledros!
Yeah, it's exactly a control deck. It's such a control strat. It's just like, yeah, you get 3 times the amount of cards, right?
Yeah.
So basically, at that stage, you don't even care about trading evenly. It's just like, all right, we'll trade dudes for dates, and I'm just getting free dudes. Free dudes every turn. Yeah. Actually, now that I put it that way, surprisingly, it might be more playable than I originally thought, but it's probably not necessary in the Jinx deck, I think.
The other problem with the Jinx deck is that if you play this card, you're normally playing it in lieu of Augmented Experimenter. Like the guy that comes out, deal 3, discard, redraw your hand.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of swapping him for this card. And I feel like he's just way better. He comes out for removal, he flips your Jinx, or he gets you a rocket, and then you get, like, 3 cards.
I haven't found leveling up Jinx hard. It's like, if you're playing it with Draven, between all the other discards, it's pretty easy to get Jinx flipped on, like, turn 5-ish.
Yeah, I think she's very easy to flip. I just think the role this card wants to play, Augmented Experimenter, potentially plays better in that deck. And I only say potentially because there are situations where you're going to play this fucking landmark and you're going to get like the nuttiest combination of cards ever in your hand, and it's going to win you that game, and you're going to feel like you're on top of the fucking earth, and you're going to be like, fuck yeah, I'm glad I had this card over 3 damage and draw 3.
Yeah. University of Piltover is, like most other universities, overrated in the current meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Oh, man.
We'll move on from that now. We'll talk about probably the most hyped card in the whole set. People would not shut the fuck up about Shyvana. And now that she's here, people are still crying about Shyvana. So let's take a look and see what the problem is.
Right after this break. So, the new champion is Shyvana. So, she is a Demacian champion. 4 cost, 3/4. On the front side, she is a dragon. When she attacks, give her +1/+1. And she levels up when she's seen dragons deal 12 or more damage. 12 or more damage. On her leveled up side, she's still a 4 cost. She gets a +1/+1, so she's a 4/5. Still a dragon, but she now has Fury. So she doesn't have Fury on the human side. When she attacks, give her +2/+2 until the end of the turn, and she puts a fleeting Strafing Strike into your hand.
Yep.
So Strafing Strike is a 3 cost fast spell. An ally and an enemy strike each other, and if the ally is a dragon, heal it too. So it is a single combat, but costs 1 more, and you heal 2 off your guy if your guy is a dragon. Shyvana's spell is Shyvana's Confront. It's a 3 cost burst spell. Grant one of your allies challenger. Shuffle Shyvana into your deck. So that's Shyvana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I did like playing Shyvana a lot in League of Legends. Because dragons are cool. So I was keen to try out Shyvana, and she is strictly
Okay.
okay to meh.
Yeah.
Meh to okay. Like, yeah. So, when she does level up, though, she's really fucking good. Like, being able to like, create strafing strikes is like, ooh, it's so good. It's so good, the strafing strikes, man. Yeah. But, the other stuff is pretty meh. And she feels a little bit understated as well. For a 4 cost 3/4, feels a little bit understated. Because you don't really want to block with her. You don't really want to block with her. On attack, she's fine, because like as a 4 cost, she's like a 4/5 on attacking, so that's solid enough. But yeah,
If she had Fury on the front side, she'd be a lot better.
I wouldn't say she's a lot better. Fury is not a particularly powerful keyword.
Yeah, but she gets more ability to block on turn 4 defense.
Oh,
if she
true.
Has Fury, 'cause
Technically, yeah.
she can take a hit. She like heals back 1, right, and then she might be a 4 again, or a 4/3 or something like that, and then she still gets the +1, and it counts towards her flip as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she's a lot better if she has Fury on the front, but she doesn't. So we judge her how she is.
Yeah. Her leveled up side is actually pretty strong. Because, like, yeah. She goes up to what? A 6/7? So that's pretty beefy. Especially for a base 4 cost. And then, yeah, you strafing strike shit. So, yeah, you'll like, your opponent will, like, either chump block it or run, like, because your opponent doesn't want to run, like, their 5/5 into it. So they'll chump block with a small dude, and then it basically doesn't do anything. And then you just strafing strike one of their big dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because she has Fury, sometimes you can do interesting things. So if your opponent does a combat trick to like bump their guy up, you can strafing strike, kill one of their small dudes, and that gives you the little bit of extra Fury. And because strafing strike heals you up, then like you get larger. So there have been times I've swung with like Shyvana, and my opponent has used Pale Cascade on their dude. And blocked Shyvana, and then I'm like, alright, strafing strike, kill one of the small shitters, heal the 2, get the +1/+1, and then like, yeah, still win the combat. Yeah. But people are like, oh yeah, play her dragon decks. Like, we'll talk about the other dragons afterwards. You like, from what I found, you just don't play her. You don't play her with any of the high end dragons. So all you do, like, because I've built a deck around this. You just play her with the 4 and 5 dragons. The 4 and 5 dragons.
Yeah.
In Targon Demacia. So all you have to do is like, okay, because you also don't want to open up with Shyvana as well. You play her after you've got 1 dragon on the field. So you just play another shitter dragon first, like the 4/4 dragon, the 4/4 dragon or something. and then you play the Shyvana afterwards. Because that way you just send the 4/4 dragon, send the Shyvana in, and then all you have to do is just single combat or strafing strike, and your Shyvana flips. So it's actually really easy at that point. Yeah, so she's actually really easy to flip. Yeah.
Yeah. I played her with... So, like... I very much agree with your build concept for Shyvana. I really don't like people's decks that start going into things like Invalus Vox and things like that, and they're trying to get like these big top-end dragon values. Even Mind Splitter, I think, is really pointless in the deck. Like, I play her... I built a deck with her that runs Garen. So I can, like, rally every turn, because I feel like you just want to keep punching. Just, like, keep slamming every turn. So, and obviously if you have like Garen and concerted strikes and single combats and now strafing strikes as well, like Garen becomes a little easier to flip with strafing strike in the game. And the game I did play with Garen in the deck, I got confused. I thought Shyvana's confront was strafing strike. So I was gonna flip Garen, and I just gave him challenger. And I was like, okay. But it wasn't even that bad, because turns out Garen with Challenger is actually pretty legit. Yeah,
because he's got the regen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Eclipse Dragon in a Shyvana deck, I don't think you bother with it. And I don't even think you bother with the 2-mana ramp card in a lot of cases.
I tried it, and it did not work for me. Because, like, you wanna bank up that early mana. Because, okay, if you go... Turn 2, you play Herald of Dragons. It's like, yeah, you can go play turn 3 Shyvana, but then, like, you're at that point you've only got 1 mana free, so you're really afraid of attacking with Shyvana, because your opponent just like, oh yeah, if your opponent does a nuke, then oh yeah, cool, your Shyvana's dead, and you're screwed. So I found success. You skip 1 and you skip 2, or you still play the Herald chick. So in case, like, you can sort of, like, play the Shyvana or the Dragons 1 turn earlier, but you don't want to play Shyvana on free. Because Shyvana by herself leveling up is really tough. So you always want to play her as the second dragon. And then the first dragon you play is always, like, your bitch dragon. You run him into a dude, he survives, and then you just, like, strafing strike him into another dude. And then that flips your Shyvana.
Yeah.
Shyvana's spell, Confront, is really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like... Yeah. It's so bad. It shouldn't even cost 3, man. Like, it should cost 1. Well, like, maybe not 1.
Maybe like 2. But
like 2.
3 is really ridiculous. I mean, compared to...
It should...
And I think the only comparison you need to make is between, like, On Guard, right? On Guard's a 3-cost spell that gives all of your units on the board Challenger for the turn, I'll admit. But this card never gets played. And I think even just comparing that to, like, Chain Vest and Ranger's Resolve, it seems like giving everything on the board a keyword for 1 turn is better than giving 1 unit a keyword permanently.
Yeah.
Often, like... Go ahead.
My comparison would have been, like, Sumpworks Map. So Sumpworks Map is, like, what, 2-cost spell that gives a dude elusive forever? And arguably, like, elusive is a way more broken mechanic than Challenger is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the card never sees play. Even though like Vi's had heaps of play in the past, and I'm sure everyone's had the wet dream idea of playing Stumpworks on Vi and ramming 10 to the face. But we don't do that. We prefer to just run Vi into units and clear units. We don't go for what is almost in a lot of cases going to be lethal damage.
Yeah. So like every time I get Shyvana's Confront, I just hold it for when my first Shyvana dies, and I can drop a second Shyvana.
Yeah.
So like you just level up the Shyvana, and then like the remaining Shyvanas just backup Shyvanas. You never confront with her, and you can use eggs to kind of pseudo search for her, and eggs kind of give you some some more steam in the late game, so you can just like eggs for 2 cards. But Strafing Strike is, flip Shyvana's solid. If you can flip a Shyvana on turn 4, you're I wouldn't say you're probably going to win. Your chance of winning is quite high.
Yeah.
And I've experimented with a ton of different builds. Yeah, a ton of different builds. Um, yeah, like another way you can play the deck is you can go turn 3 Mentor of the Gems, and then to turn 4 Shyvana, and then you can send her in, and then you've also got free spell mana. You've also got free spell mana on defense. Yeah, because that's another thing you can do. You can go like Mentor of the Gems, swing with Shyvana. Shyvana goes up to 6. So if Shyvana punches face or punches a dude, you can then use like single combat or strafing strike to get the number 6 to level her up straight away. Yeah.
Seems good.
Yeah, I thought about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so Shyvana is okay. You gotta jump through hoops and make her decent. Yeah. So the next card, I guess we'll talk about a card that doesn't need much talking is Dragon Guard Lookout. It's a 6 cost 3/5. When I'm summoned, if you behold a dragon, rally. I don't know in the region that has relenting pursuit why you would want to play this guy.
Yep, that's what I said, and everyone called me crazy.
What? Other people
some of the
said it was
guys,
good?
some of the guys in the group, like, I don't really get involved in the card game
Here's
discussions.
what I found on the web.
Oh fuck!
Thanks.
Shut up! Okay, yeah,
Thanks, Bixby.
yeah.
I don't really get engaged with the card game conversations with the guys, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's a better orange man,
Orange guy?
so it has to be
Yeah,
a good
orange.
card, right? And I'm like, no, like. You would almost always rather just play. Okay, you know when this card is potentially good.
In Shadow Isles, where you can resummon it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but also like I had a Vaults of Helia deck idea that was to run it with Demacia dragons. Ended up being fucking horrendous, so we don't talk about it very often. But the idea was you could roll into this chick on 6 on your opponent's turn, and it would rally at the start of the turn. But there just ended up not being enough Demacia dragons for it to work. And then the idea was it would then go into another card, which would go into Tiana, which would rally you again, and would go into the next guy, which would buff all your dragons too. But there just didn't end up being enough dragons. But yeah, like, Relentless Pursuit kills this fucking card. Like, Relentless Pursuit is really cheap. And
You can play with spell mana.
you can play it with spell mana. Your dragons already have good bodies. So if you're beholding a dragon, it's probably a dragon you've already got on the board, and you'd want to have a dragon on the board anyway if you're going to rally. Yeah, I'm not very keen on her. And even like Orange Man, Orange Man has to plunder to rally. Which, unless you run warning shots, is a lot harder to do on your opponent's turn. I think Orange Man's coming out with a better body, and Orange Man himself even started.
He heals your guys.
He heals your guys, so like the idea being you would attack, take a bit of damage, play him, rally, heal your board, go in again, and it would be like really tough to deal with, like in those scout decks. He ended up sort of getting cut slowly over time, and now he just sees like a little bit of rogue play here and there as like a funny one-off, like, oh, surprise, Orange Man. And I really think that is the fate of 6-mana rally units. Is just like sometimes they will get rogue play as like a surprise move because no one's going to play around a 6-mana rally card. But now you're in Demacia, like everyone has to at some point expect that a Demacian deck is going to have Relentless Pursuit in hand. So, like, if someone has the ability to play around Rally, a good player will always play around Rally.
Yes-ish. I guess, like, I'm not sure if you just always just, like, assume that your opponent's got Rally. Yeah, but either way, it feels comparatively...
And also,
like...
turn 6, can't you just have 3 spell mana banked, play a better 6-cost unit and then rally, or even a 5-cost unit and rally?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 cards, I'm sure, but...
The thing is that also is just like, you can just randomly relenting pursuit on your opponent's turn. Like your opponent like swings their shit, they tap out, play some shit, and then you're just like, all right, cool. Now we relenting pursuit, and then your opponent's like, oh fuck, what do I do here? Right? You can't do that with this guy because you need to have six mana held open.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and yeah, like the only advantage he has is that like if when he's summoned, right? So like yeah, it's like there's not even very many ways that you can like make a copy of this dude cost efficiently, to abuse its ability. Yeah, even if you're using like the Shadow Isles guys to revive him, it still costs like what 4 to do.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I feel like there aren't enough dragons in Demacia alone to make it work.
There aren't enough good dragons. Yeah,
I feel like all the Demacian dragons are pretty good, except for Catagrin, but...
Okay, so, alright, so I know about this one, right? So, there's Shyvana, there's the 4/5 Challenger Dragon.
Which is, like, sick.
Yeah. The 7 cost Scout... The 7 cost Scout Fury Dragon, that's 6/6. She's not good. Like, I tried playing it, it just runs into shit and dies. And then, after that, you got the 9 costs Kadrin or whatever, and he's a little bit too late game. Yeah. So yeah, just within Demacia itself, you can't get enough good dragons. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so next card is Eclipse Dragon. It's a 7 cost 7/5. It's got Fury. On Daybreak, reduce the cost of the next dragon or celestial you play by 2. On Nightfall, create a random dragon follower and a celestial follower in hand. It's also a dragon. Yeah, so I did run into another Shyvana player on the ladder who used this to ramp into Kadrin on the following turn. So you can play this Eclipse Dragon, and then the following turn you can play the big dragon afterwards. Otherwise, this card doesn't seem. There's no other real interesting use of this card.
There is one consistent use it gets, and there is one inconsistent use it gets a lot of. And one uses the Daybreak, and the other one uses the Nightfall. So the inconsistent use is when you pull this dragon off of Unspeakable Horror, and then you play it to refill your hand with a couple random cards. That's one use for it. And sometimes it's a really nutty high roll, and then it puts like some celestial god card in your fucking hand, and you feel like the champion. The consistent use it gets is in Ramp A Soul. Because you will play this card in order to get a soul on turn 8.
Mm-hmm.
So you would do... So, like, you could... No, lost my train of thought. But I think there was a way... Oh, you would ramp, you'd play, like, Wording Stones or Catalyst, and then you play, like, Voices of the Old Ones to go right up into 8 or something. Play this guy, drop a soul the next turn. And it's like a really like hyper speed way to play A-Soul really quickly. That's the Eclipse Dragon usage in the game right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you
just
can
ramp to big boy dragons. Yeah.
You can technically get both effects if you play it with Ravun. Because if you Nightfall it in, it's also always day for Ravun, so you can also Daybreak it in, and then you get both effects, and then you might get a really good dragon off Nightfall, and then make it cost 2 less or whatever. Something like that. Yeah. But no one really plays like Leona's really like dropped off the face of the earth quite a bit though. She was like really popular when the game came out, and I thought she was really nutty, and it seems like she. Like I said, the Invoke decks really stopped getting played, and especially with buff all units in your deck everywhere 2/2 7 mana refill your spell mana. Since that got nerfed,
that cosmic
inspiration. Yeah, since that got nerfed as well, really hurt Leona really bad, because that was mainly what her deck did. You played
Oh, okay.
you played units, you invoked in that card, and then you buffed everything, and you just like smashed them. Like
Oh,
if that deck was
I never did that.
oh, that's kind of like what the main point of it was.
Okay.
Sorry, buddy, you missed out.
I don't know. I just played the thing that gives other guys +2/+2, stun 2 guys, and just run my dudes in.
Yeah, well, that's.
Yeah.
I always thought, yeah, that's what I thought you were supposed to do as well, right? But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
the Eclipse Dragon, that's the card.
Okay, so interesting. Yeah, it ramps in some dragons early. So yeah, the A-Soul thing is probably relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it would always be like you would either play Eclipse Dragon on that turn, or you would go straight into Mind Splitter. If you had a really good Mind Splitter target that you needed to stun, you could drop Mind Splitter, or you would drop this guy to ramp into A-Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were the deck's options. Okay.
Cool. All right. Next card is Cat Dragon, the Infernal. 9 costs, 9/6 Fury. When I'm summoned, grant all other dragons everywhere +2/+2. Playing this in the Shyvana deck is really greedy. It's super greedy. Because then it's like, you gotta play Eclipse Dragon to get into him. Yeah. If you do get it down, like you're pretty sweet with your dragons. Yeah, not gonna lie. Are you were you thinking the same thing that I was thinking? But like, okay, so I did try to play more of a control dragon strategy with Ionia to try to protect my Shyvana with Notifies and shit. And you notice those monks, the Etrune monks, they create dragons, the ephemeral dragons.
Oh, yeah.
So I was thinking, if you can drag the game out long enough to drop this guy, you can make all the dragons that they create like four free dragons.
You're probably better off with Cosmic Inspiration at that point.
Yeah, but then the Cosmic Inspiration thing was way better.
So my Catagrin idea was with Vaults of Helia and Shadow Isles to like ramp into him and then like Chronicler him, shit like that, because he's a summon effect, so you can keep rebuffing your dragons. But I had the not enough dragons in Demacia problem.
Yeah.
So I couldn't abuse Shadow Isles effects to make 2/2 for all dragons that worth it. And plus, you don't have eggs, and you can't keep redrawing dragons.
Yeah. Yeah, the Shyvana deck is kind of like the Yasuo deck. You just pigeonhole so hard into like to 2 regions that you just like you can't do anything outside those regions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a shame,
Yeah.
but
And that's Shyvana.
yeah, I really feel like the best versions of Shyvana just feel like classic Bannerman decks.
Yeah, like
And that's really what I thought she would be when I saw her first. I thought, okay, Shyvana's just going to be like the new Bannerman deck, but like with dragons and, of course, without Bannerman. Because you would just like run beefy Demacia units and dragons and just keep smashing face every turn. But a lot of people kind of think that Demacia is the weakest region in the game right now. And it's mainly because Demacia keeps taking nerfs.
I think it's because Demacia doesn't have any relevant tools to deal with what's in the metagame. They don't have good AoE removal. They don't have particularly good utility spells. Yeah. And their dudes just don't have the big enough stats anymore.
Yeah. Gotta feel bad for them Demacians.
But yeah, don't get baited into playing full dragons. Just play Shyvana.
Just play Shyvana.
Yeah. I also, another build I tried was go full dragons and then play Mobilize. Because if you play Mobilize, you can play the Herald chick and then you can play the other dudes cheaper. When you get the Mobilize, it's sweet. When you don't get the Mobilize, oh man, it's garbage.
Yeah, that was the original Dragon build before Shyvana came out. Is people would play Herald and triple mobilize
Yeah,
and eggs, so that you would draw and then you would mobilize and you make your dragons cheaper. Yeah, that's what people used to do.
yeah. The spell shield dragon, the 5/5 spell shield dragon, worked for me in a lot of cases. Surprisingly good. You can
Yeah,
just play
'cause-
into Ruinates with those guys.
Yeah, because he's tougher to remove. I remember when he first came out. It was also when Augur first came out, who gives you regen and overwhelm. And one of the things we were doing when it first come out is we were playing Trundle decks with that 5/5 spell shield dragon and using Augur on it, so
Yep.
that when it furied, it would heal all its life back, and it would just it'd be a 6/6 and then a 7/7, and it would just keep getting bigger. That was the fun
Yeah.
thing we were doing at the start of the game. The start of the
Yeah.
set.
Oh yeah, and one other little thing with the dragon deck. I forget what it's called, but that big 15 cost spell that deals 15 to all opponent's shit.
Yeah.
I played two of them in my dragon deck as ways to just like break random stalemates, and yeah, it's actually surprisingly easy to resolve. Yeah, if you have 3 dudes, it goes down to 7, I think. Yeah, it goes down to 7, and then yeah, you can just like wipe your opponent's board.
It goes down.
I beat a
it
warm up.
goes down 2 mana for each dragon you have.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of
Goes-
like
it goes to down 9. Yeah,
yeah.
I beat a warm ups deck because they warm up a second time, and I'm like, oh yeah, you done fucked up now. Wipe your board and send them in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
It's like if your opponent can't like deny that shit and you have the attack token, it's pretty much just surrender.
yeah, because like we discussed that one time outside the podcast, is that a lot of the higher, like when you look at the meta, it's like you're either playing a deck like aggro decks and they get over the line with burn. If you don't have that, most of your strategy has to have some sort of way to just make your guys unblockable. Like for example, the Swain boat thing, or the Sejuani like Ash thing. So yeah, so basically for dragons it's a spell. It's just like instead of making your guys unblockable, you just wipe their boards and send them in.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Zephyr deck, the Infinite Zephyr deck that people were doing when
Oh, yeah.
Revitalizing Raw came out. So you had 0 cost Zephyrs you could keep playing. The deck ran. Alan refined the deck when it first came out and put 3 singular wills in it. So you target one of your units and then everything else on the board gets recalled. So you
Yep.
could play this 10 mana spell or whatever it is, and then just replay all your Zephyrs and attack for like 30 damage. And it was
Okay.
more or less the same thing. Depending on how much mana your opponent had, they could replay a bunch of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, these are things that do exist in the game as win conditions, which is basically just make the situation as unfair for your as impossible for your opponent to deal with as you can.
Yeah. And that's it for all the new cards. Looks like
That's
it.
it.
Yep.
That's it. I don't have anything else. I didn't prepare anything else.
Cool. That's okay. We've talked enough. Yeah. So yeah, so basically I played Shyvana a lot during the last week. Basically all the non-grinding games were Shyvana games. Yeah. Yeah, like now that I've kind of gotten back into this game, here's the thing, right? People, it's like, yeah, you can go to Mobalytics or Swim's website or whatever to like just find what the top meta decks are. But if you do that, you'll never really understand what necessarily makes certain decks good. You just play through the cards. But like when you try building your own decks and experimenting with different ideas, you understand the game better. So like me messing around with Shyvana allowed me to get like a really good grasp of like kind of what the meta is and what the flow of the game is kind of like. And yeah, it helps. It helps you also. It also helps you better understand what you need to play around. Because if you're just taking a meta deck and just playing the meta deck, you don't necessarily know why certain cards have been placed in the deck to get around what issues. But when you build your deck, you can understand why you don't do certain things because you've tested it and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Going turn 2 Herald into turn 3 Shyvana is still kind of shit because of XY reasons.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
these
so-
are all things that like someone can tell you, but like you don't really understand until you've done it yourself, until you've gone out and you've done the research, and you become a better player for it.
Yeah.
A better player, a better deck builder as well. You can sort of understand why certain things become unnecessary, and you sort of get this idea of, man, this card that I put in this deck feels really bad because of this reason, that reason, that reason, that reason. You would never know that if you copied someone else's deck because they've already taken that card out. More than likely. Yeah. So, like, they've gone and done the research. You've copied the deck, but they're still a step ahead of you in some way.
Yeah, it's like copying someone's math homework. You copy the answers, but you didn't copy the work, so it's like you don't know how you got to the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So basically, while other people complaining about how the game is broken or the meta's stale or whatever, learn to build some decks and learn to sort of work on building decks and getting creative and stuff. It's very interesting as a problem solving perspective. If you think the meta is stale, it means you're a meta sheep. It means you are someone that just copies shit off of Mobile Leagues or someone's stream. Yeah.
Yeah. I recommend everyone this week go out there, play some normal games, and don't take the meta decks into normal games. Don't be that idiot. Just
choose a champion you like and play around with it. Play
Yeah.
around with it.
and see if you can work out, because there are other people who are going to be in there playing like some meta shit in normals, because they don't want to play ranked or whatever. Just go into normals yourself, pick a champion you like, build it in the way that makes immediately the most sense. It could literally just be like the puzzle building deck build style, which is I'm going to take every card with this particular keyword and I'm going or this particular text and I'm going to put it in my deck. And then just slowly start peeling back the layers and going, okay, this card, I don't feel like this card works because of this reason. And I don't feel like this card works because of this reason. And then you think about, what could I put in its place? Well, I know this card's a really good card in this other deck, so maybe I'll just pop this in here just cause, and then you might find some interesting interactions or whatever. And start coming up with better ideas.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll get to the best possible version you can of a deck, and you'll be like, yep, okay, deck's trash, let's move on to something else. But at least I know why it's trash.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good way to end the podcast with some positivity. Build your decks.
Yeah.
Have fun.
And the meta's not even stale. Like, fuck, man, people do this all the time. There's so much shit out there you can play, and there's so many viable decks in the meta right now. So go out there and enjoy it, because it's really fun right now.
And that's the end of episode 25.
Yeah, Funsmiths out.
GrandJason out.